In 2024, the United States Air Force did something almost no one predicted. They brought back a fighter jet design from 1972, not as a museum piece, not as a training relic, but as a frontline combat aircraft ordered in numbers large enough to reshape America's entire fighter fleet. The jet is the F-15EX Eagle II, and on paper, its existence makes no sense whatsoever. We live in an age of stealth. The F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II dominate headlines. Billions have been poured into next-generation aircraft like the NGAD, the sixth-generation fighter meant to rule the skies of the 2030s. So, why on earth would the Air Force resurrect a non-stealth design that first flew over half a century ago? Why invest billions in an aircraft that enemy radars can see coming from miles away? And perhaps most perplexing, why do senior Air Force leaders call this old warhorse essential to America's future air dominance? The answers reveal a crisis most people don't know exists. A fighter fleet on the brink of collapse, a strategic gamble in the Pacific, and a radical rethinking of how modern air combat actually works. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only why the F-15EX was brought back from the dead, but why it might be the most important fighter purchase America has made in a generation. Let's dive in. To understand the F-15EX, we first need to grasp the disaster it was built to solve. In the early 2020s, the United States Air Force faced what analysts quietly called an air superiority gap, a polite term for a looming catastrophe. The average age of America's fighter fleet had climbed to nearly 30 years. Hundreds of older F-15C and F-15D Eagles, the backbone of air defense since the Cold War, were literally falling apart. Fatigue cracks riddled their airframes. Maintenance costs skyrocketed, and worst of all, these jets were becoming dangerous to fly. At the same time, the F-22 Raptor, the world's most advanced air superiority fighter, had been capped at just 187 aircraft due to costs and production shutdowns in 2011. That's nowhere near enough to cover America's global commitments. The F-35, meanwhile, was designed primarily as a multi-role strike fighter, not a pure air superiority platform. It's superb at what it does, but it can't do everything. So here's the problem. America needed to replace hundreds of aging Eagles quickly, affordably, and with a jet that could hold its own in a high-intensity fight against near-peer adversaries like China and Russia. Building more F-22 seconds? Impossible. The production line was dismantled over a decade ago. Waiting for NGAD? Too far away and still largely experimental. The Air Force needed a solution now. Enter the F-15EX Eagle II. Boeing pitched it as a fourth-generation plus fighter with fifth-generation capabilities, essentially. A completely modernized Eagle built on an active production line already supplying jets to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and other allies. It could be delivered quickly, integrated into existing squadrons with minimal retraining, and crucially, it wouldn't bankrupt the defense budget. The Air Force ordered the first batch in 2020, and the first jets began arriving in 2021. The Eagle had come back to life. But here's where it gets truly interesting, and if you want to know the real genius behind this decision, you need to hear what comes next. Because the F-15EX isn't just a stopgap. It's part of a strategy so clever, so unexpected, that it's forcing America's rivals to completely rethink their own plans. Stay with me. If you're already intrigued by how an old jet became the future, imagine what else you'll discover in the next 15 minutes. Hit that subscribe button now because this story is about to get even more astonishing. So what exactly is the F-15EX? On the surface, it looks like its predecessor, same twin-tail silhouette, same massive twin engines, same unmistakable profile that's been a symbol of American air power for 50 years. But step closer, and you realize this is an entirely different beast. Let's start with the radar. The F-15EX is equipped with the AN/APG-82V1 active electronically scanned array radar, one of the most powerful fighter radars ever built. This system can track dozens of targets simultaneously at ranges exceeding 160 kilometers, and it's capable of electronic attack modes that can jam enemy radars while still hunting targets. For context, older F-15C models used mechanically scanned radars from the 1980s. The APG-82 is a generational leap forward. Then there's the electronic warfare suite, EPAWSS, the Eagle Passive Active Warning Survivability System. This integrated system provides threat detection, geolocation, and countermeasures against surface-to-air missiles and enemy aircraft. It's the same core technology that helps the F-35 survive in contested airspace, adapted for the Eagle II. In other words, the F-15EX can see threats coming, determine exactly where they are, and deploy countermeasures to survive all automatically. But here's where the F-15EX truly shines. Weapons capacity. The jet can carry up to 12 air-to-air missiles on a single sortie, more than double what an F-35 can carry internally. Why does this matter? Because in modern air combat, firepower wins fights. Stealth is valuable, but stealth jets have a critical limitation. To remain invisible to radar, they must carry weapons internally, which drastically limits their loadout. An F-22 carries 6 missiles. An F-35 carries 4 in stealth mode. The F-15EX 12. Plus, it can carry hypersonic weapons, standoff missiles, and other payloads far too large for internal weapons bays. This is the concept known as the missile truck. The F-15EX isn't designed to sneak into enemy airspace alone. It's designed to operate behind stealth fighters, acting as a flying arsenal that feeds targeting data and launches massive volleys of missiles on command. Picture this. An F-35 slips undetected into hostile territory, locks onto enemy aircraft, and transmits target data back to an F-15EX loitering safely outside the threat zone. The Eagle II launches a barrage of long-range missiles, and by the time the enemy even knows they're under attack, it's too late. The F-35 remains hidden. The F-15EX never enters danger. The enemy is obliterated. This tactic is called cooperative engagement, and it's revolutionizing air combat doctrine. The Air Force isn't just buying a fighter, it's building a networked system where stealth jets act as scouts, and the F-15EX delivers overwhelming firepower. It's brilliant, cost-effective, and utterly terrifying for any adversary facing it. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear where these jets are actually being deployed and why that location has China deeply concerned. Don't go anywhere. Geography shapes strategy. And in the 2020s, no piece of geography matters more to American air power than a tiny island base in the Western Pacific. Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, Japan. Kadena sits fewer than 540 nautical miles from mainland China and roughly 370 miles from Taiwan. For decades, it's been home to a rotating force of F-15C Eagles tasked with maintaining air superiority in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. But those aging jets are being phased out, and the Air Force has confirmed that F-15EX Eagle IIs will replace them, beginning in the mid-2020s. Why does this matter? Because tensions in the Indo-Pacific are at their highest point since the Cold War. China's People's Liberation Army Air Force has grown into the largest air force in the region, fielding advanced jets like the J-20 stealth fighter and the J-16 multi-role strike aircraft. China has also built extensive surface-to-air missile networks across the mainland and militarized islands in the South China Sea. Any conflict over Taiwan would see American forces facing a dense, integrated air defense environment, exactly the kind of threat the F-15EX was designed to counter. Here's the strategic logic. Stealth jets like the F-22 and F-35 will penetrate Chinese airspace, suppress air defenses, and gather intelligence. But they can't do it alone. They need support aircraft capable of carrying heavy firepower, maintaining air superiority over contested zones, and staying in the fight for extended periods. The F-15EX, with its massive weapons load, advanced radar, and electronic warfare systems, fills that role perfectly. It's the hammer to the F-35 scalpel. Moreover, deploying the F-15EX to Kadena sends a powerful signal. It demonstrates that America is not retreating from the Pacific despite budget pressures and fleet aging. It shows Beijing that the United States is investing heavily in capabilities specifically tailored to deter Chinese aggression, and it reassures allies like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan that American air power remains committed to regional stability. But there's more. Beyond Kadena, the Air Force is transitioning several Air National Guard units to the F-15EX. Units in Oregon, Louisiana, Florida, and California are receiving the new jet, replacing older F-15C and D models. This isn't just about combat readiness, it's about building depth. In a prolonged conflict, reserve and guard units become critical. By equipping them with cutting-edge aircraft, the Air Force ensures it can sustain operations over months or even years. The F-15EX isn't just a tactical asset, it's a strategic hedge against long-term conflict. And if you think this is all the F-15EX is designed to do, you're missing the biggest twist of all. Because hidden inside this jet is a capability so advanced, so game-changing, that it's forcing the Pentagon to rethink the entire future of air warfare. Let me explain. The next part reveals the F-15EX's most astonishing secret and why it might outlast even the fighters designed to replace it. You won't want to miss this. Keep watching. One of the most overlooked features of the F-15EX is its digital infrastructure. Unlike earlier Eagles, which used older avionics and required extensive retrofitting to add new systems, the F-15EX was built from the ground up with an open mission systems architecture. In plain English, this means the jet's computers and software are designed to be easily upgraded, almost like updating apps on a smartphone. Why does this matter? Because modern warfare evolves rapidly. New weapons, new sensors, new electronic warfare threats, they all emerge constantly. A fighter jet that can't adapt becomes obsolete within years. But the F-15EX can integrate new capabilities simply by uploading software updates. The Air Force has stated publicly that the Eagle II will be continuously upgraded throughout its operational life, potentially keeping it relevant well into the 2050s or beyond. Now here's where things get truly fascinating. The Air Force is developing the NGAD, the Next Generation Air Dominance Program, a sixth-generation fighter expected to enter service in the 2030s. NGAD will feature radical new technologies, artificial intelligence, optional crewed or uncrewed operation, and capabilities we can only speculate about. But here's the catch. NGAD will be extraordinarily expensive. Estimates suggest each jet could cost $300 million or more, roughly triple the price of an F-35. So here's the Pentagon's dilemma. They need NGAD to maintain technological superiority, but they can't afford to buy hundreds of them. The solution? A high-low mix strategy. NGAD will serve as the elite, cutting-edge tip of the spear, small numbers of ultra-advanced jets leading the fight. Meanwhile, large numbers of F-15EX Eagle IIs will provide the mass, the firepower, and the staying power needed to win extended campaigns. The F-15EX becomes the affordable component of America's future fighter fleet, the jet that does the heavy lifting, while NGAD does the impossible. But there's an even deeper layer. The F-15EX is designed to work seamlessly with uncrewed systems, autonomous drones that will accompany manned fighters into combat. These loyal wingman drones, like the Air Force's Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program, will scout ahead, draw enemy fire, and extend the reach of crewed jets. The F-15EX's open architecture and advanced data links make it the perfect platform to command these drones. In other words, the Eagle II isn't just a fighter, it's a node in a networked battlefield, capable of controlling multiple assets simultaneously. Imagine this, an F-15EX pilot flies over the Pacific, commanding 4 autonomous drones ahead. Those drones probe enemy defenses, identify threats, and relay data back. The pilot, safe behind them, directs the drones to engage or withdraw, launches missiles when targets are confirmed, and coordinates with nearby F-35EX and NGAD jets, all in real time. This is the future of air combat, and the F-15EX is built to thrive in it. And here's the kicker. Because the F-15EX is so adaptable, it may outlast jets that were designed to replace it. While other platforms age out or become too costly to upgrade, the Eagle II's open architecture ensures it can evolve alongside emerging technologies. It's a 50-year-old design reimagined for a future we can barely imagine. Still think this is just an old jet brought back to life? The final section will show you why the F-15EX might be the smartest investment the Air Force has made this century. Don't stop now. Let's talk money. Because ultimately, defense procurement isn't just about technology, it's about budgets, timelines, and political realities. And on all three fronts, the F-15EX makes perfect sense. The Air Force has committed to purchasing at least 104 F-15EX aircraft, with options for more depending on budget and strategic needs. The per-unit cost is approximately $87 million, roughly half the price of an F-35A, and less than a third the estimated cost of NGAD. For context, that means the Air Force can buy 3 F-15EX jets for the price of 1 NGAD. When you need to replace hundreds of aging fighters quickly, that kind of cost efficiency is impossible to ignore. But the savings go deeper. Because the F-15EX is based on an existing production line, Boeing can deliver jets rapidly, without the delays that plague clean-sheet designs. The first operational squadron was stood up in just 3 years, a fraction of the time it takes to field an entirely new aircraft. Maintenance is simpler too, since much of the ground crew training and logistics infrastructure already exists for older F-15 variants. Pilots transitioning from earlier Eagles can be operational in the F-15EX within months, not years. There's also a strategic advantage in keeping the F-15 production line active for international sales. Countries like Israel, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia have already purchased advanced Eagle variants, and more are considering it. This keeps costs down for the U.S. through economies of scale, strengthens alliances by ensuring interoperability and generates export revenue that offsets development costs. It's a win on multiple fronts. Now let's zoom out and consider the bigger picture. The F-15EX isn't just about filling a gap in the fighter fleet, it's about maintaining air dominance during a critical transition period. The 2020s and 30s will see America's rivals fielding more advanced aircraft, expanding their air defense networks and contesting airspace that the US has controlled for decades. China is building hypersonic missiles, directed energy weapons, and stealth jets at an unprecedented pace. Russia, despite economic struggles, continues to develop advanced systems like the Su-57 and S-400 missile batteries. In this environment, the worst possible outcome would be a capability gap, a period where America lacks sufficient numbers of modern fighters to deter aggression. The F-15EX closes that gap. It ensures the Air Force maintains numerical strength while next-generation platforms mature. It provides flexibility, allowing planners to deploy the right tool for each mission, stealth when needed, mass firepower when required, endurance when critical. And here's the final, most profound point. The F-15EX proves that innovation isn't always about starting from scratch. Sometimes, the smartest move is to take what works, upgrade it ruthlessly, and deploy it strategically. The Eagle II is a testament to that philosophy, a Cold War fighter reimagined for 21st century warfare, proving that old airframes, when equipped with cutting-edge technology and integrated into modern tactics, can be just as relevant as the newest, shiniest platforms. So, to answer the question we started with, why did America bring back an old war machine? Because it was never really old. It was simply waiting for the right moment to return. The F-15EX Eagle II exists because the Air Force faced an urgent crisis, an aging fleet, budget constraints, and rising threats from near-peer adversaries. But rather than panic or settle for half measures, They found a solution that was pragmatic, innovative, and strategically brilliant. They took a proven design, equipped it with fifth-generation technology, and integrated it into a networked combat system that leverages the strengths of stealth, firepower, and adaptability. From its deployment at Kadena Air Base to its role in the high-low mix strategy alongside NGAD, the F-15EX is reshaping American air power for the decades ahead. It's the missile truck that multiplies the lethality of stealth fighters. It's the affordable workhorse that ensures numerical superiority. It's the adaptable platform that will evolve with emerging technologies, and perhaps most importantly, it's proof that sometimes the best way forward is to build on the past. The F-15EX wasn't supposed to exist, but now that it does, the world's air forces will be dealing with it for the next 30 years. And that's a reality America's rivals are only beginning to understand. If this video changed how you see modern air combat, let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Mysterious Flight for more deep dives into the stories that shape aviation history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.